The Department of Home Affairs and the Hawks have handed documents over to Pastor Timothy Omotoso. The papers informed him that his application to have him declared a prohibited person has been has been dismissed by the Department of Home Affairs. This means that Omotoso is a prohibited person in South Africa. But for more on this now, let us cross live to our reporter Jade Paulse, who is in Port Elizabeth monitoring the situation for us. Jade, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for coming through. Now, take us this decision by the Hawks and the Department of Home Affairs before we also talk about the dismissal of Omotoso's application.
Well, Paulse, there was high drama. Straight after Judge Irma Skuman gave her judgment, we went straight into the Hawks, walking into the courtroom, with the official from the Department of Home Affairs issuing Timothy Omotoso with documents. And all the press that was sitting in the front row, we all got up and we wanted to know what exactly was happening. We saw some of the congregants also that were seated in the public gallery telling Omotoso, "Daddy, don't sign these papers. Daddy, wait for your legal representative, who is defense lawyer Peter Doberman, don't sign." And then we saw Timothy Omotoso complying and then eventually signing those papers. But we have confirmed that the Department of Home Affairs have issued Timothy Omotoso with papers declaring him a prohibited individual in the country. But I do have the acting spokesperson here of the National Prosecuting Authority in the Eastern Cape, Sibolile Mboy, and she's going to be talking to us about what this exactly means. Obviously, Omotoso has been issued with these papers now. Just take us through, when were these papers issued to the Department of Home Affairs, or rather, what does this mean for Omotoso now? Will he be able to get bail if he is a prohibited individual in the country?
Thank you, Jade. Firstly, being a prohibited citizen, he cannot get bail. And secondly, those papers that he was served were merely saying that his application to have the prohibited citizenship status lifted was denied. So that is what was going on.
And if I'm correct, those papers were actually coming from the magistrate's court already before we moved to the High Court. And it's been several months now before he's actually received any word from Home Affairs declaring him a prohibited individual.
No, I don't know that, Jade. I don't know. No, really, Jade. I really have no idea. I don't want to comment on things I don't know.
Thank you very much, Sibolile. Well, that was Sibolile Mboy just saying there that the papers have been confirmed from the Department of Home Affairs that Timothy Omotoso is a prohibited individual in the case. Paulse, this is a very, very sensitive matter, and as you saw there, the NPA not wanting to speak much. The Hawks officials as well, when we're trying to access information from them, they've also been very tight-lipped, so it's very difficult as journalists to also get information out, and we've been receiving a little bit of information in drips and drabs. But going back to the court case, Timothy Omotoso's defense application to compel the state to furnish them with more particulars. You would remember, if you've been following the case, that Doberman issued an urgent application in the week, compelling the state, bringing an application to compel the state to garner more information on the indictment charges with regard to the times and dates and references with the alleged allegations or where the alleged atrocities happened. And Judge Irma Skuman has denied and dismissed that application, merely saying that the state has been furnished by, the defense has been furnished by the state with all the information, and that there cannot be any more that can be given. Also saying there that the state has a mandate to actually protect the witnesses, and the dockets that have been furnished to the defense is adequate and is enough for them to prepare arguments and to prepare the defense, and also to prepare an alibi for Timothy Omotoso on the relevant dates. Paulse.
Yeah. So seeing, Jade, that the defense's application has been dismissed, I would imagine that the trial will officially begin tomorrow.
Well, that's what we expect, Paulse. Before court adjourned, we did see defense lawyer Peter Doberman telling Judge Amos Kumande that he needed time now to prepare the way forward. I think he was expecting that they would probably be successful in that application today and asked for a postponement because the judge was actually very, she was ready to proceed with the rest of the trial, and the defense saying that they cannot proceed further. So it remains to be seen whether the state will actually say that, okay, fine, let's resume bringing witnesses to the stand, and whether we'll actually see a witness take to the stand. Paulse, I'm just hearing a bit of commotion behind me. I'm just going to walk out of shot so that Natasha can show you what's happening. I see there. Defense lawyer Peter Doberman is walking out of the court, and the Jesus Dominion International Church members are applauding him, throwing their support behind their pastor, Timothy Omotoso.
Jade, I was about to ask...
They believe that Doberman will successfully... Yes, Paulse?
I was about to ask you about the support outside the court, as it's been in previous cases. We've seen a number of people, we've seen a number of political parties coming out in their large numbers. How have things been today?
Well, earlier this morning when we were reporting, that was fairly quiet, relatively quiet. The Jesus Dominion International Church members only came through much later in the afternoon, but they have been showing their support and, affirming their support for Timothy Omotoso. We've also seen several civil organizations also outside of court, political parties, that being the Democratic Alliance and the ANC, also rallying behind the victims and showing their support. But generally, the Jesus Dominion International Church members have been steadfast in the support for Omotoso, picketing, hoisting placards and calling for him to be released. Obviously now with the Department of Home Affairs declaring him a prohibited individual, it is very unlikely that Timothy Omotoso will receive bail should the defense apply or bring an urgent application in that regard. But it remains to be seen whether we will see the first witness take to the stand. It's going to be very interesting tomorrow, Paulse.
All right, Jade, we'll leave it at that for now. Thank you so much for coming through. Our SABC News reporter there, Jade Lee Paulse, reporting live from Port Elizabeth. So as it is now, as you may have heard from Jade, the Department of Home Affairs and the Hawks have declared Omotoso a prohibited person. And as Jade was explaining there, that if this is the case, this means that it is unlikely that he may be granted bail. And of course, we've also seen the defense's application to compel the state to furnish them with further details has also been dismissed. This may mean that the trial may officially begin tomorrow, but as our reporter was saying there, we're yet to see if the first witness will take the stand tomorrow.